Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds podcast. This is episode number 123. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Caitlin,
Hello.
and we are back. It hasn't been a while, or has it?
Yeah, took 2 weeks off. Summer's been busy, but also we had a guest on our most recent episode before this, so we're like off our normal routine.
I think it got kind of crazy for like right before Labor Day.
Yeah, well, I mean, August is always the toughest month. We should just schedule ourselves a break in August because it's so cray that time of year. It's usually the hardest month in the northern hemisphere for whale watching. As far as like just you're really busy,
Yeah, everybody's trying to travel, or it seems like we're getting our last bit of travelers before everybody settles back into normal work
Yeah,
and school and stuff.
Yeah, it's the last couple weeks of vacation before the American kids go back to school. So busy. Yeah, but thanks for listening anyway. And we appreciate you sticking with us. And hopefully you got out to see some whales this summer. And also thank you to everyone that supports the show, whether it's by going on trips or supporting us on Patreon or telling people about it, whatever it is. We really appreciate it. And if you want to keep up with us, you can always follow along on social media or on our website. It's the website is thewhalenerds.com. And then on Facebook and Instagram, it's @whalenerds, and you can find us on there. And then video versions of all of the episodes from 100 onward are available on YouTube. They're all available on YouTube, but the first 100 are audio only. So they have like just a still frame and then the audio plays. So what?
I said, but they're there.
They are there. So if you like listening to things on YouTube instead, you can. So it's been like a month since we've talked about sightings.
I know this could be like a 7-hour podcast if we were to dive into each individual day.
Dude, I should have been taking notes. I didn't realize we were going to be this long between reports.
Can you just tell me the last thing we said about our reports? No, because we had a guest, so we didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about sightings was the trip where Orion breached.
Oh, in front of your boat.
Yeah. No, and he had his thing hanging out.
Oh.
It's been a while.
Oh, no, Orion didn't breach in front of your boat. That was 50B.
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't talked about that, though.
No.
All right, well, let's just start with the killer whales, because I feel like it was like, we had like a lull with the humpbacks, right? It was kind of like, they were just like some around. There's like a casual 12, and then and then those killer whales showed up. Was it like 3 days in a row? Or it was like a break.
It was like
or something.
3 days in 1 week, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. 2 days in a row, and then they were gone, and then they came back, or something like that.
So that morning, or that day in particular, I went out of the harbor, and one of the bigger boats had found the killer whales at 8 a.m., like right off the bat. And so when I got out there, they were staying down for like, I got to them and they were staying down, I want to say like 7 minutes, I think. And then they weren't going far. They were just kind of like zigzagging back and forth right in front of the harbor. And so they ended up popping up next to me. I got like a couple looks, and then I was like, you know what? They're way inside the bay. I'm going to go out and explore and see what else I can find. And I think I made it to the corner, and I ended up finding like, no. I found a trio of humpbacks, and it was, who was there? Inverse. And one of them flew out of the water, and none of us got a picture of it, but it was like a really good full out breach. And then I left them, found a couple more humpbacks, but then you guys came out and saw them for a little bit and also left, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Then we all came back, and that's when the party started.
Yes.
And tell them from your perspective, because you had I saw it happen, but you saw it happen.
Yeah, that was like, I think the third encounter we'd had with the 51As and 50B within like a 7 to 10 day period. And so when we first got on them, they were just like, they zigzagged a little bit. Then they started traveling the south edge of the canyon. So we left and went out and looked at humpbacks with you. And then, well, out in the same area you were in. I don't think we ever actually shared whales, but right as we left, they killed something, and it was like, oh well, it's fine, because there's a bunch of boats there. So we're like, no, we've had our turn. We got really good looks at them with no one else there. We'll go and come back. And then on our way back in, a bunch of boats were starting to leave. So we decided to go take another look at the killer whales because they'd been feeding. I think they had made 2 kills while we were gone. And after they hunt something, they do like to celebrate a little bit. And so 50B got like really hyped for a second. He did like 3 big breaches with his back towards the boat, getting closer and closer and closer. And the first one, I don't think anyone was ready for. Maybe a few people got photos. And then the second one, everybody had their cameras up and got it. And then the third one, I set my camera down really quickly and turned on the video on my phone. And he breached so close coming towards us that splashed the side of the boat. Like it didn't get the people on deck, but the water hit the hull.
I was so jealous. Well, I actually got, like, looking back at my photos, I actually really did get a good photo of the breach with the boat, and just like I could crop it without the boat too, so I could have both if I wanted to. But he did turn, like in the breach, he ended up turning, so I did get like that side view.
Yeah.
But from like the first one and the second one, actually all 3 of them happened so close together.
Yeah.
It's like he just like was in the air, and when he landed, he just like instantly was in position again. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
He like had no downtime.
Yeah, I think he like just like back flopped and then like
swam upside
like
down and then
pivoted.
did it again.
Yeah, like got his tail underneath him again and kicked again and came up like 3 times in a row.
It was kind of like, I would say, to me, it looked like he was like tail walking almost.
Like,
like when he came up, because like, you know what I mean? Like
I
going
think he just stayed on his back underwater the whole time and just kicked again.
Yeah, so that was cool. Gave us 3 awesome breaches. They were super right before you got there, they were super like spy hoppy, and like they were just super, I don't know, it looked like they were celebratory. Like the mall, like I think Aurora and one of the younger ones was like rolling on top of each other, and then it was just a big pile of killer whales. And it was nice because they weren't staying down long, and they were just kind of chilling between all of us, and everybody was able to get good looks.
Yeah.
And then was that the night we ended up going out again? No.
Yes. Yeah.
It was, huh?
Yeah.
Wait, so it did open up for like sunset almost, right?
Yeah, because you came out on the afternoon on the High Spirits.
Oh yeah, I went back out with you guys.
Then you and I went again on your boat.
Yeah, that was pretty fun because I remember so they were being kind of bad, right? And then when we found them on my boat, they were just kind of like, they were heading straight out too.
Yeah, they were zigzagging, doing like inconsistent dives, and
then we got them tracked like.
Yeah, then they got in a routine and started traveling, and we were able to like time them and keep the heading, lined up with them.
That was fun. And
then the light was really pretty right before we decided to turn around and come back in. It had like nice rays of yellow light because it was the end of the day.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it was like the next day we started getting some humpbacks coming in, right?
Yeah.
It was like kind of like, oh, thankfully there was one of those days with the killer whales. We were like, thankfully there was killer whales because there was like not very many humpbacks.
Yeah, there was one day where we didn't see any humpbacks at all. We just saw the killer whales. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, then the humpbacks started coming in, kind of back along that between like 41 and 56, and then anywhere from like 52 to 54. Right, like anywhere on the south side.
Yeah, south side of the canyon for a while, spread out to the corner, and then there started to be more whales on the north side as the weeks went on, which is good because like if we would have recorded right after that episode with Katarina Audley, we would have been like, there's no whales.
Yeah,
summer's already over. Like I was getting a little worried. I was like, it's the middle of August and we didn't see any humpback whales one of the days.
Looking back at last summer though, because I go through my footage to make posts a lot, and September really did have a lot of good lunch feeding days. So I feel like September really is when we started getting consistent lunching. But really, our first lunch feeding last summer started July 25th, I think. And so I don't know. This summer is definitely really weird.
Yeah.
But you know what? One of the days they all piled up right near the edge, the south side. And Kate was like, I bet you tomorrow they're going to end up in the canyon and then they're going to be everywhere. And that's exactly what happened. We started
Mm-hmm.
having whales all over the canyon. And because I went to that spot they were the day before and there were no whales there. So I kept going out, ended up at the corner, ran into a trio. And what was really cool about this trio is they were like traveling into the glare and all of a sudden they went down and then I could see like all these ripples in the water and I was like, they're gonna lunge. And like sure enough, they lunge fed and I was like, I hate when I tell myself they're gonna do something and I don't follow my own direction. Like I didn't hold my camera up or anything. I ended up pulling my camera up and getting a photo, but it's like because you say it hoping that happens,
Yeah.
you think but sometimes they just go over or like under a school too and they keep going.
Yeah.
But no, perfect little triple lunge. I ended up leaving them, and that's when Kate gave me the call and said, "Well, you're like a mile short of where they had like 25 humpbacks. The Santa Cruz boats had like 25 humpbacks." And I get out there, and everything goes from like one whale to like, oh my god, I have 20 whales here. And then there's thousands of sea lions, and next thing you know, I have a group of 4 whales, lunch feed on like up at my 11 o'clock. And then I'm like, behind me, sea lions start popping up. Then boom, lunge behind me. I had like 3 or 4 different groups of humpbacks lunge feeding in this little tight area. And then I'm like calling people on the radio. I'm like, oh my God, no one's ever going to see this. What's like, no one's out here. I'm alone. And so I ended up one boat coming out and literally, like, I swear before I get the tents out, every whale broke up and went opposite directions. Like it went from like 20 whales to literally like, well, they all just went opposite directions. And I ended up following like 6 or 7 of them to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kel, that's where I met up with you. And you had like 3 or 4 whales with you guys. And that's kind of the start of our humpback madness, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've been moving around a lot every day as well. We've also had a lot of Risso's dolphins. Like almost every day, we've had at least a small group of Risso's dolphins, which I think is pretty incredible that we've had such consistent dolphin sightings. I think we saw Casper like 3 or 4 times since the last time we recorded.
Yeah. And then that night, I totally forgot about the night that Kate and I
Mm-hmm.
went out and had like, I don't even know, let's just say 35,000 humpbacks. No, there were seriously like unlimited humpback whales about 15 miles out, like everywhere, spread out everywhere. Groups of 3, 2, 5, 1, like just all over the place. And then on our way in, dude, that was a crazy night. On our way in, we found a pod of Rizzo's, Whitesides, and Northern Right Whale dolphins
Yep.
all leaping their way out towards the like setting sun.
Yep.
And then behind us, we had like they were getting trailed by humpbacks and sea lions that were feeding because we did
Yep.
end up getting a close lunge by those massive, massive humpback whales.
Yeah.
Those are big whales. Yeah. A lot of big whales around. A lot of like names that we recognize are showing up.
Finally. Yeah. Some of our normal like summer whales are finally here. I think like everything's kind of shifted. So like our normal whales that we've had have been up off the Farallones and Half Moon Bay. And then we're seeing the whales that like normally must be really far offshore or down in Big Sur or something. And then like Morro Bay's having like the Santa Barbara whales. And then Santa Barbara's like touch and go getting the SoCal whales. I don't know. It's been a
Yeah, they
weird
finally
summer.
just had some whales that they recognize too. Like
Yeah. I mean,
Charlotte.
even just day to day, like I think one day we had Gato Borracho on the south side of the canyon. And then the next day it was like 12 miles from where we had previously seen it up in SoCal.
Yeah, that
So
happened to me too.
yeah, I mean, we've had a couple like that where they've moved, you can tell they've moved several miles overnight or between days or whatever. And so I don't know, it just makes me feel like the bait is moving around a lot too.
Well, so then after that night, you and I went out and had all that crazy night with Kate and all the whales. The next day, I went out there and literally I was like, wow, there's like no whales. I didn't go to 05 though. I got to 03 and I was like, this is pretty far.
Yeah.
But I ended up at the tip of Soquel, and that's where I had probably 15 whales, and they were in 280 feet of water, and it was like super brown, and they were just like they were definitely feeding, but it was like those little whales in front of the harbor. They would come up there, then there, then there. And it was
Yeah.
like super sporadic, no consistency. And like they were not staying in one like tight group at all.
I mean, I feel like that's been true of all the feeding groups we've had this summer. It's like they just move around so quickly. You can't just like settle in and sit with them for a long while because it's all moving around too much.
I will say, as much as we've had some regulars, we've had a lot of cool, unique, newer whales too. And like the last, like a batch of photos I did, I had 2 or 3 whales from like El Salvador or like Nicaragua, like way down, which is, I don't have very many down there. So that's pretty cool.
We've had, because Kate has the matcher on her phone so we can run it on the boat. We've had 2 different whales that have been seen in Alaska that have been hanging around for like 10 days. And then we had a whale today that's also been seen in Panama.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. So some definitely not our normal staple of whales.
I've had 2 or 3 that haven't even shown up as a match either. This one whale I really would like to know, but obviously if it's not on there, it's not on there.
Yeah. And we had another new mom and calf, ratchet and calf. So we're like over 20 mom calf pairs that have come through Monterey Bay for the season. Just pretty incredible.
I would have said like 6.
No, it's over 20.
Sees how much I pay attention. Well, you know what though? If you're not IDing them and writing them down, it's like there's a lot that are coming in and out.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, like our regular moms this season were Clubs. Clubs, this is her first. Clubs is this is her first calf, but she's a regular Monterey whale. Bottlenose, Angel Wing, Fran.
Wait, Angel Wing has another calf?
Angel Wing has a calf this year.
Oh yeah. Ghost Chili Pepper.
Ghost Pepper. He is a monster.
Yeah.
For a 9-month-old whale, he looks like he's already 5 years old.
And that whale went off last night.
Yeah.
Andrew called me. He's like, "You're an idiot, Cider. Because I told him I was coming on the 5 o'clock, and I didn't show up, and he was like, you're missing out right now."
On our afternoon trip on the 1:30, he was going bananas. I even like just set the mic down and went down in the bathroom and shot photos.
Yeah. Oh man.
So, but that whale's huge. I mean, Kate and I were joking about that today. We're like, man, if we didn't see him at the beginning of the season, we would never have believed that it was a calf.
Yeah, just like a juvenile feeding with.
Yeah. Because it's a huge whale. Who else? Jolly Roger's mom this year. Ratchet's one of our normal Monterey whales. She's a mom this year. Trying to think who else. But yeah, that's like 7 off the top of my head that are just our normal Monterey whales. Plus, there's been a whole bunch of others. Yeah,
and there's some out like that was out offshore that we just didn't even get IDs on too. Yeah, I hope it stays out. I don't mind no lunge feeding. I mean, I always want it, but there's a lot of whales to go see, which is really cool.
Yeah. And nice. I do feel like they must move in like cohorts or something, because like this morning in front of the harbor, there was like 8 juvenile humpbacks, all kind of like running around. At one point, 7 of them got all together for one surfacing, and then they broke off in little groups. But some of those whales have been between those like 3 buoys that are maybe 4.5 miles from
the
Moss.
Ones.
Yeah, between those buoys and the mile marker buoy in front of Moss Landing, they've been in that zone for several days. And like they all kind of showed up at the same time, because 2 of them are the Alaska whales.
The one with the the one that's white with like the spidery cracks on it. You know what I'm talking about? I'll
maybe.
show you. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. A couple of them were at like 47 and 51.
Yeah. So, and they like some of the whales that were there this morning, we had seen further out yesterday afternoon, and they came in overnight. But I mean, it seems to be like, remember earlier in the season, we're like, oh, we have all these like little teenager whales. They're like tiny little humpbacks, and they're all just moving around, not really organized, don't really know what they're doing with the sea lions. And then we had a bunch of big whales show up within the last couple of weeks, but it seems like they move in groups.
Oh man, I was thinking back to that day, which I think we already talked about, that sighting where that mom just came in and lunged like one time, like it was whose mom? I don't even know who the mom was, but that she just came in, did one big massive lunge.
Yeah.
Kept going.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Big whales are awesome.
Yeah. We've seen Lefty a few times.
Yeah.
That's been fun. At one point, so Lefty doesn't have his left pectoral fin. Well, he has like just part of the humerus left. It's like a little stump basically. And at one point he rolled over by the boat and you could see just the little bit of his flipper. It was pretty funny. He's a goofy whale.
Yeah. We've had a couple. Well, I guess we could transition into this. We've had a couple negative sightings last couple days or last couple weeks too.
Yeah.
Danny found a super entangled humpback.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't Danny. It was like a
kayaker or something, wasn't it?
A fishing boat or something, or scuba boat maybe. They found it off Point Pinos, and then they tracked it and stuff, got drone video of it and all that, and it was like not. Did you see the video?
Mm-hmm.
It's like not only was it entangled, it looked like it was bent in half. Like
the spine was definitely really damaged.
Yeah, like right at the peduncle or like right behind the dorsal fin. It was like a big huge
had a big turn in the spine, like
–
almost like scoliosis, but it looked like it'd been hit by a ship. Like that was an injury.
I know the disentanglement team was called on it, but they ended up losing it. It ran into the beach. Honestly, I've seen whales that are way less worse than that get disentangled and still not make it. So I have a feel like that whale was just not going to make it. Like there's just no way.
I mean, people might disagree with me for saying this, but
it's a euthanizer.
I think it's a whale that would have only been worth it to go make a response if you were euthanizing it, because you could spend all that time and all that money disentangling it and it's definitely still going to die. So if you have the ability to use your resources to just put that whale out of its misery, I think that makes more sense financially and emotionally, morally. Like, why waste the money on disentangling it when it's clearly on death's door?
Yeah.
That sounds mean, but like, honestly.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's like we should disentangle, like you can kind of tell. I mean, that one whale broke free down in SoCal like 6 years ago now, Scarlet.
Yeah.
And it's like it had fully covered in like lice. It disentangled itself and then it just like all of its lice went away and then it still died. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Thought you were better now. And then it's like still died. I think that we don't know how long it could have been entangled. It could have been doing it for 2-3 months. That's why it could have got hit by a boat or something because it couldn't move. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like it's already like probably destroyed its insides just by being so stressed out and all that too.
Yep.
That even if it got free, it just didn't. And then 2 days ago, or no, like 4 days ago, maybe now, there was this whale that was breaching. And I guess it had like a piece of line on its chin. I never saw the photos, but I guess it just had a piece of line on its chin, but nowhere else. They saw it breach fully. And then I got to it and it was tail throwing, but no line was on it.
Are you talking about the one with the gill net?
Yeah. Oh, was it gill net?
That's what I heard it was.
But they said it was just like a little strip down the
head.
chin, on the no, under, like on the underside. You could only see it if it breached.
Maybe it was like in its mouth or something, or it was like stuck.
I think it was just stuck on a barnacle.
Yeah.
But it was because it was tail throwing and stuff. No, it wasn't showing up anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I know Danny flew his drone and didn't see anything. So I really think it was just stuck on his chin. And hopefully it just, I don't know, does a chin slap and breaks it off or something.
Yeah.
Because it didn't, I guess they said it wasn't like long enough to reach like a pec fin or something.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, it's interesting when we have whales here that have gill net on them, because like there's no gill net fishery for like hundreds of miles. So either that's like a
Mexico, right?
derelict piece of gear or it picked it up somewhere else. Yeah, like Mexico, Central America. I don't know what the gill net policies are in Oregon and Washington. You know, these whales also swim hundreds of miles offshore. And once you get outside the exclusive economic zone, like you can't really enforce a whole lot of things out in the open ocean. Derelict gear moves around, you know, on the currents. So it's just, but it's interesting when you see a whale that's in an area where gill nets are not used for hundreds of miles show up with one. I mean, just proves one, the whales move around a lot, and two, the gear moves.
Yeah.
So
did you see that video of the humpback whale in Australia that
in the shark net? Yes.
Yeah, in the shark net.
Yes.
That's pretty intense.
I mean, I'm not Australian. I'm not up to date on all sides of the story, but from an outsider's perspective, that looks like the stupidest animal management program I've ever seen. You're putting so many other animals at risk just to
I don't even get
hopefully
it.
prevent sharks from being near swimmers in the ocean. Like, what about all the fish and turtles and whales and birds? Like, what
I
is
feel
it
like that is
really
just like
worth it?
that's such a weird priority. Like
Yeah.
sounds funny, but it's like you
I
want to
mean,
surf where sharks swim. It's kind of your fault, I guess,
yeah,
right?
I mean, like I understand people want to use the water and want to do so safely, and there's a lot of fear about sharks and stuff, but it's like, dude, you're like, that's their home. Like, we are the foreign invaders in the water. Like, that's a calculated risk you have to make if you're gonna go in the ocean.
It's like we had 2 shark attacks here in the last couple months, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
let's just put a net across the bay, you know?
Yeah, or like in Maui, it's like, if you surf on the North Shore, especially if the water's murky, people know that you could be bit by a shark. Like, same thing on the South
Well,
Shore during certain parts of the year, or on the West Side during certain parts of the year. Like, the locals will say, "Oh, it's really sharky over here this time of year. Like, you may not want to surf there."
yeah,
Like,
that net is
what?
just so dumb. They need a you know how they have the wetsuits that have like the shark repellent in it?
Yeah, the like vibration stuff and the weird material and all that.
Yeah, I think they need those for sunfish for
Oh
boats.
my God.
I'm not saying
This
anything,
year,
but
this
sunfish,
year, it's been bad.
they are so scary. On the trip, Kayla and I and Kate went out. We're driving in at like dark, and it's like moonlight is hitting the water, and literally, like a 4 or 5 foot sunfish just goes down the side of my boat, and it's just like you're like 2 feet away from
We
killing
almost
me.
just died.
Like, oh, it's like it's realistically not gonna kill us, but it's gonna kill my engine, which did kill me. So I'm like, dude, it's just
Yeah.
it's just like I don't know. I swear to you, it was not this bad last year, or I just was way luckier last year and didn't see
Yeah.
him that much because
I don't know. There's been a lot of really big ones in front of Moss Landing, the first few miles out from the harbor.
I'm not even. I haven't even had like a crazy sea nettle day or moon jet. Like they're around. There's been a lot
We've
around
had a few.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like last summer, there was a day where it was just like millions of moon jellies or millions of nettles and like
Mhm.
thick on the surface too. And so it's like, and this year though, we've had a lot more egg yolk jellies. This is the most
Yeah.
egg yolk jellies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Before this year, you would see like 1 or 2 a summer, I felt like. And this
Yeah.
summer, I feel like I've seen 1 or 2 a trip.
I've seen like dozens every trip. It's
Yeah.
interesting. So
Well,
you
I'm
know
so
how
low to the water, I'm
yeah, you
zooming
can't
by.
see them like we can. It's interesting this year because the watercolor, which species of jellyfish, the bait and the whales all seem to be moving a lot. And the fact that the different types of jellies are in front of moss every day
Yeah.
makes me think the water masses are still moving a lot, because some days it's like beautiful clear blue water and there's like a bunch of egg yolk jellies and maybe a few moon jellies, and then there's other days where it's like dark green in front of the harbor, there's a bunch of sea nettles, and then the next day it's like kind of blue, but then there's like crap loads of moon jellies. And so I'm like, is this the water just pushing up out of the canyon like
You know
crazy
what? That is
fast every
true that
day?
moon jellies seem to be in clearer water more, huh?
I mean, maybe we see them better because it's in blue
True,
water.
true,
I don't
true.
know. But yeah, it's like the water masses seem to move around so much. And maybe it's because I've never worked a season out of Moss Landing before. Maybe that's how it always is. But Kate and I both were talking about it, and it seems to be like a little different this
It's
year.
different this year. Last year we had like tuna and stuff show up, and it was like blue
Yeah.
water for a long time.
We had a little bit of bonita like
Today?
10 days ago,
Oh,
and for like 2 days, and then that was it. That's all I ever saw.
so I'm ready to go offshore.
Yeah.
When that all happened and it got like we had tuna and bonita and all that stuff last summer, we also had really, really good lunch feeding. And also that week we had fat fin around for a couple days in a row.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Mid-September, we still got a lot of time to go, hopefully. Not really a lot of fin whales or blue whales, a few blue whales off and on, but not real consistent.
Didn't
Trying
they
to
see
think
blue
if
whales
there's
2 days ago? Yesterday. Last night.
we didn't,
Or
but
I had
maybe
a dream, maybe. Oh,
I've
I
been
did.
hearing them on the hydrophone almost every night, but not seeing them.
I think Discovery had them yesterday, maybe.
I think a couple boats have seen them, and quite a few sightings of Baird's beaked whales off and on all summer too. But you know,
Yeah.
so yeah, our last like piece of whale news, I guess we'll cover, is not so fun. So we're not ending on a high note. Sorry. We
I
had
cried about it.
me too. We had the last sighting ever of Fran this summer. So she was last seen, I think, in early August in Monterey, and then washed ashore at Manhattan Beach by the Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay on August 28th. And so she finally came far enough to shore by that Sunday night. That Monday morning they did a necropsy, and when they opened her up, they discovered that she was a victim of a ship strike, and she was hit so hard by a boat that her spine was dislocated from her skull. So she washed ashore. They were able to do a full necropsy, get lots of samples because she was very fresh, but that's the last sighting we will ever have of one of the best documented humpback whales in California.
My last sighting of her was July 27th.
Yeah.
Because of you guys actually passed her to me, and it was off and on foggy. We saw her for a few looks, and they were actually kind of leaving the bay. They were above SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
I just really hope that, because the calf's probably 9-10 months old, right? So
Yeah.
I just hope that the calf has already been up there lunge feeding like a boss, and is, maybe inverse will be like, yo, I know your mom, and then take it. That'd be so cool. You see,
that would be cool.
oh my God, I swear to you, if I ever see inverse and that calf together, that would be super cool.
Yeah. Or Lim. She hung out with Lim a lot too. That was one of her buddies.
Yeah. Just the last 2 years I've seen Fran, all last summer when I saw Fran, she was with inverse every single time. It's got to be the dad, dude. Dude, what if I wonder if our competitive groups really get as big as the Hawaii population. You know what I mean? You get 20, or you get up to 20 of them or something or more. I wonder if that could happen in Mexico.
I mean, I don't know, maybe.
Why do I feel like
there's more whales in Hawaii in the winter, for sure. There's just more whales.
The bigger population, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what
I'm saying.
And
it's a more confined area, right? When you think about all the different places they go to Mexico, they could be off Cabo, they could be in Banderas Bay. They could, there's so many little spots they could be. Whereas in Hawaii, it's if they're not between the 4-island region of Maui County, they're not that far away off Oahu or Kauai or the Big Island.
So were you around? When did you meet Fran? When was your first encounter? Do you remember?
I think probably in 2014. I remember. So when she's a whale that really liked to be off of Marina and off of Moss Landing. Sometimes she'd be up in SoCal, but when I worked out in Monterey, we never went up there. For a while, she was nicknamed Marina because she was seen there so much. And I remember we would go to Moss Landing almost every day the first couple seasons I worked, because the whales were gathering right there in the canyon. And I would always see this whale with lots of big white patches on the tail, and her tail's very round. And I was like, that dang Moss Landing whale is here every day. And then finally I realized it was Fran. I think she got named. Let me pull up her info. I think she got named in 2016 or something.
Oh, really? So I came up in it was either the spring that I moved here. I was working for a whale watch in Monterey, and I remember we were going off of Del Monte, what's that? Embassy Suites,
the top Monterey Tides Hotel.
Yes, that place. And they were lunch feeding over there.
Yeah.
And I just remember Elisa or someone saying this is Fran, and I had no idea. I was barely getting into whales IDs at the time.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like the first whale like name that I heard in Monterey. I don't even
Mhm.
still might even be the only whale I know. But no, for real, like that was like the first name that I like heard of a whale in Monterey. I had
Yeah.
known only like 3 humpbacks in Newport, and 2 of them died. So, um, okay, maybe like 4, but yeah, 2 of them still did die. Yeah, then I remember seeing her throughout the summer, and like one of my I have 2 crazy memories, and one of them's with you. But
Hmm.
the before that, we were off of Marina. I swear we were almost off of. In my head, I picture the power plant in this like memory. But the Star of Monterey, it was like us, the Fran, and then the Star of Monterey, and then the beach was behind the Star of Monterey, and we were paralleling the beach heading towards Moss, and she was just doing these massive tail throws. And I don't know where the photo is. I'd have to find it, but I have a tail throw with her in that boat. I know Eric has it on his Instagram somewhere, but big, huge tail throw. Um, and she was just wild. And I just remember being like, that's Fran.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then our memory.
She, I mean, this kind of ties into how this story starts, but she, if she wasn't feeding, I just remember her sleeping. Like, I never really had that many active encounters with her over the years. I know a lot of people have, but I just remember that she was so tolerant about sleeping next to the boat. Like, one time we were like outside the ledge somewhere, like in the flat, shallow water, about halfway between Monterey and Moss Landing, and she just took a nap next to the boat. I think we might have even shut the boat off, and we like were drifting in the wind,
Uh,
and she wasn't. And so all of a sudden it was like so close she could almost like touch the boat with her flipper, and she just kept sleeping. And I was like, dang, this whale just like has no care in the world.
both of my active encounters, afternoon trips.
That one was the morning trip.
The earthquake?
Yep.
No, it was like
Late in the
afternoon,
day.
late in the day. It was an all
Yeah.
day trip. No?
No, it was a regular whale watch.
No, it was an afternoon trip because we were all up top. There's no way that was a morning trip. Then
No,
it was
it was in
fall or something.
October.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. And the light, because
So
the light, I picture the light being like glary already.
yeah, it was in October. And Kate called me that morning and was like, hey, I need a naturalist for the
Yeah,
day. Can
I
you come up
remember.
and work? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like headed up towards that way anyway to get, I think my truck worked on or something. And
Dang,
I was
was
like,
that
what?
already like 4 years ago?
It was 2019. So 3 years
Damn.
ago. Yeah. So then I went up there and worked the trip. We saw killer whales, and then we saw humpback whales. And then we found Fran and another whale. They were laying next to each other sleeping. And I was on the microphone going, this is Fran. I don't know who her friend is, but Fran's a really good napper. And like as soon as I said that sentence, like that whale in the distance breached. And then
Yeah.
Fran and her friend took a quick dive, and we were
They
like,
fluked up and then flew out of the water.
and then both double breached next to the boat. And I was like, what is happening? Then the whales, all the whales around us breached
Yeah.
repeatedly. And then Mike on the sanctuary was like, hey, my
No.
whales just started breaching. And we're like, that's weird. All the whales around us that we can see are breaching. And then Bill gets on the radio on the Atlantis or whatever boat he was on. And he said, I just got an alert on my phone. There's an earthquake.
Yeah, we all got the alert on our phones.
I mean,
I
I
remember
didn't.
it. Oh, I did. I remember it. The like, the not and like the alert. You know what I mean? It pops up. It's like there's an earthquake in your area.
Oh, mine doesn't. My phone doesn't do that, but I think my
Yeah,
phone also it just has it out for me. It never warns me about tsunamis or anything. Anyways,
you're always in danger.
I'm always in danger. It doesn't care. So yeah, so they just kept breaching, and I think that one of the coolest things was we looked up that other whale's information because she and that other whale were out of the water at the same time, and she was half that whale's age, and she was twice the size of it. So that whale was like 28, and she was like 14 at the time, and
I
she was
remember
like
that.
way bigger than that other whale.
Yeah. And so did you know Fran's mom?
No, she so Fran was born in 2005. Her mom's name is Big Fin. She's also goes by River. There's almost 100 confirmed sightings of her going back as far as 1988. And I think Fran is her only documented calf. So I don't know
Dang.
what kind of like gaps in time there were between her sightings, but it sounds like she's seen Monterey, Gulf of Farallones, and Port St. Louis. And in 2015, which this was a horrible season for entanglements. In 2015, she was seen entangled that winter when whales stayed over that winter. And she was never seen again after she was reported entangled. So it's been, 7 years since that happened. So
Dang.
they suspect she's dead.
Big fins, like people that have like contributed, like not very many.
Mhm.
And it's like a lot of like Jody Frediani, Daniel Bianchetta, Peggy, Kate Cummings.
Yeah, Cascadia. Ferd. Yeah.
John. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's interesting. So I was looking before we started recording, I was looking at Big Fin and Fran's sightings in Mexico because Fran's been seen by the Whales of Guerrero project, which we were gushing about during episode 122 with Katarina Audley. And then like a week later, she died.
Yeah.
So horrible. So she's not been seen down in Guerrero only. Fran has been seen in Cabo San Lucas, Banderas Bay, and Mazatlan. And the 2 sightings of Big Fin are also in Banderas Bay. So I don't know what that means for like which DPS you put Fran in, because she has been down to the South Mexico / Central America breeding ground. But no, I don't think anyone had a sighting of her this past winter when she had the calf to know like where that calf was born. So like which breeding group was Fran a part of?
She's a part of the
Don't know.
Monterey with Inverse, okay? Inverse is the dad.
So yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, it's a big loss to lose any female in your population, right? But she was a whale that we were starting to notice had preferred whales she would associate with. Her calf was going to be a 3rd generation whale for our area. She was such a large whale. It was going to be interesting to see just like how much bigger she got, how long she lived, how many calves she produced over her life. Was she always going to come back to Monterey with a calf every single time? Like, we don't get to know those things now.
Yeah, pretty sad.
Yeah. And her calf, no one has seen it since Fran washed ashore dead. That doesn't mean it's gone because it's been up off Half Moon Bay where there's not a lot of sighting coverage. But
unless it could still be like, unless it got hit at the same time, which could be a possibility too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we don't know like where was the calf in proximity to her. We have no idea. But I mean, both Fran and her mom died from human caused things.
Oh, really?
Preventable things. Yeah, her mom died from entanglement. She died from ship strike. Like, those are our fault.
Ugh. Yeah.
So pretty sad. I'm sorry we're ending this episode on such a bummer, but
no, I'm gonna find that calf again. I really hope that I have a photo of the calf because I'm gonna be pretty bummed if I don't.
yeah.
I only saw them a handful of times, and I feel like they were. I want to say that the calf was not fluking or something.
And it didn't show its fluke very often. The first few times we got it was when it was like playing around and it was like throwing its tail around and stuff.
Do you have it?
Yeah. It's also in Happy Whale.
You know, I'm looking at it in Happy Whale, but I was just saying, do you have it?
Yes, I do have it.
So cool.
So when we post this episode on Facebook, I'll put the links in the comments for all 3 of these whales IDs. So if you want to follow the calf and get an email when it gets recited, you can.
That'd be cool.
If someone sees it. I was also thinking about just Happy Whale in general, like how many whales do they have? Like the last photo is a confirmed dead photo. Probably not many.
True. Yeah, Scarlet, Wally, or yeah.
Yeah,
Wally.
like are those in Happy Whale? Like Fran's last sighting, there's sand in the background of her fluke.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Scarlet, Newport Beach. Yeah, it's literally a photo of it entangled.
Yeah.
Last sighting. It's from a drone photo. 420, 2017, 420. Wait. Oh man, this whale was seen off Oregon. Okay, let me see something here. How do I see the last encounter?
Well, it
Time
should
code
when it first
timeline?
pulls up the profile, it says first and then it says last.
Yeah, but I can't click it though.
No, but you can see in the snapshot of Fran's, like there's definitely sand in the background.
Oh, maybe the one that died on 4th of July was washed up on the beach on 4th of July was Wally or Wilma. Scarlet. Yeah, it's a dead photo.
Yeah.
It's
so there's a
drone
few.
photo.
There's a few, I
Yeah.
guess. I did go up and see Fran on the beach, but it was after the necropsy, so she was like already in pieces. And I picked a few flowers on the trail before I got to her and left them on her heart, which was the only organ that was still intact on her body. Her tongue was not on her carcass anymore. It was like sitting next to her, which was kind of interesting. I'd never seen a whale's tongue before.
Oh.
And then yeah, it's because she was so fresh. Like I was standing with Brian and was like showing him like, this is how you tell it's a female. Like this is the hemispherical lobe. These are her mammary slits. Like could do like a little anatomy lesson. And, you know, we're looking at the layers of skin and the blubber. She definitely had really good blubber layer. I mean, there was no question. She was always a really good feeding whale. She always looked healthy. Her weight always looked really good. But yeah, she was pretty decomposed because she'd been cut open, but you could see that the skull and the spine were like so not attached anymore. So hopefully it was quick because I think her spinal cord just like was cut by that. And they said there wasn't a ton of bruising. So hopefully that means it went fast. But yeah, it was really sad.
Ugh. All right. Well, we'll end on a high note. I could end on a high note.
You could? Well, what I'll say is if you want to prevent things like this in the future, advocate for slower speed zones for ports approaching the coast. Think about where your seafood comes from. Support people coming up with safer gear, safer shipping lanes. Think about your consumption so that we don't have to keep having stories like this. I guess I'm glad that we know what happened to her, but I'm also really bummed that it was her. But can you imagine if we just didn't see her ever again and we never knew?
Yeah, I'd be like, wow, Fran just never came back.
Like that would be even worse, I think.
Oh, for her. I mean, for us. Not
I mean, for
her.
us, like we'd be like, we would just never know what happened.
Yeah. Wally also has a photo on the beach. So that's at least 3 whales.
Okay, so what's your high note?
High note is I'm going to Tonga. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And I leave in like a few moments. Not really.
A few moments. He's like, I'm leaving right now after this episode.
In 6 days, I'll be on a flight out of here. And then I got 8 swim days in Tonga, and it's gonna be sick.
Nice. It'll be exciting.
I might not ever come back. Except for when the whales leave, I have to. No, I'm gonna come back, and then October is gonna be the best October ever invented in Monterey Bay. I'm talking lunch feeding, sunrise, good middle day, sunset, boom, 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 back to back. They're not even gonna stop feeding, pretty much at all.
Oh man, I'm stoked you're going to Tonga. Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
So,
we'll
all right,
talk about it.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about it. Thanks everyone for making it this far into the episode. I think our secret whale of the week should be Fran. And yeah, if you want to follow along with us, you can. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Have a good day.